Hi, Mark here. Trust you're well. In today's Lightroom micro learning session, we looked at previews. Now this is a live recording that took place on Wednesday 26th of February 2025. We looked at standard previews, one-to-one previews, and smart previews, how we can use them and how they would benefit our workflow. Now, if you've enjoyed today's recording and you'd like to attend live, just visit lightroommark.com/eventbrite. Please subscribe, like the video, ask a question in the comments. Without any further ado, let's jump across to the recording. Happy photography. Good evening, everyone. Lovely to see you. Tonight, I thought I will explain or make every endeavor to explain what previews are and how we can speed up our workflow, whether it's culling or viewing our images in our modules. So in Classic, there are three types of preview. There's standard preview, so one-to-one preview, and a smart preview. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm in the library module, grid view. What you see in front of you is a preview. It is an equivalent JPEG preview. Depending on how you have your catalog and importing workflow set up, it's either embedded into the raw file, into the header, non-destructively. It's an attached XMP file, or it's in a file that sits aside your catalog file. Now, if I may, let me show you. Here, grid view. That again is a preview. That's all it is. Okay. So if we come up to catalog settings, and this is new. This is a new view in the 14.2, I think we're on now. This is a new view. But if we come to show you my catalog, we will see, let's come out of there, let's go there and show me my catalog. We will see we've got these additional files. And here is smart previews, and here is previews. And this is the way that I have my catalog set up. So there is my training catalog, there is my training previews, and there is my training smart previews. So when we import, let's do that bit first. At the top right-hand corner, we have the way we can handle our previews. So embedded and sidecar, a standard preview, a one-to-one preview, or a minimum preview. So what we are doing is we're telling what we want Lightroom Classic to do with our preview. So embedded, standard, one-to-one, or minimum. Now, the standard and one-to-one, they relate to size. And that's the size of the preview. And how we determine the size of the preview is under catalog settings and the second tab, which is preview. And we have here size of standard previews, and we can select the size of the preview. Why would we do that? Depends on the size of our screen. We might have a second screen that we use as a preview screen, or we might be on a laptop with an external screen. So we can select the size of the preview, how many pixels wide. Now, I'm on a 5K monitor. It's come up with 5,000 pixels, and that means I can see my image full size. Okay, and if I tab and press L, I see the image full size. It's not pixelated. Okay, let's go back here. So this is just a standard preview, and we have the quality of the preview as well. So I have high quality, so it's not pixelated, the right size, and my total cache for my previews is 14 gigabytes. So this is looking at the file. Now, depending on the size of your catalog, you can see these images are rendering relatively quickly. Okay, even though they're a equivalent to a JPEG, they're rendering quite quickly, but they're quite large. Now, if you were on a machine that was, say, a little bit slow, especially graphics wise, what you could do is create a one-to-one preview. Now we can do that on import. So if I go back to import, and this is about speeding up your workflow, we can select a one-to-one preview in your dropdown. Now, why would you select a one-to-one preview? Well, if your image was 45 megapixels wide, you could really zoom in and it will be sharp, it will be in focus on your screen. It's one-to-one. But when you scrolled through your images, they would be one-to-one size as a preview. So we've got standard previews, which are lower res, 5,000 pixels, compared to 45 megabytes, one-to-one. Okay, so how do you set that? If you come into catalog settings, we have here a setting for previews, and we can select and disregard or discard our one-to-one previews. So you can, on import, select to make a one-to-one preview, and you can actually say, well, after 30 days, remove my one-to-one previews because they take a lot of space up and replace them with standard previews. Why would you do that? Well, you might want to cull them. You might want to sit there and say, okay, I want to go through them quite quickly, and I'm on a slower machine. It's not the top of the range. It's 3 years old. And using one-to-one previews, you can cull your images. You can review these bird images. So I use one-to-one, and I can go into my grid view and show no flags, click on an image, pick, reject, pick, reject. And my workflow, because these are one-to-one images, is very, very quick. There's no render time at all. Okay, because I'm using one-to-one previews. And I can, if I go back to the image, I can press spacebar, zoom in, check my focus, check if it's noisy, because I'm using a one-to-one preview. Okay, if I wasn't using a one-to-one preview, it will become pixelated when I started zooming in. Okay, so we can use standard previews, one-to-one previews, totally up to you. We can disregard or discard the one-to-one previews after a set period of time. Okay, so after a day, after a week, 30 days, or in my case, I never discard them. Okay, so how do we, after we've imported, build one-to-one or discard one-to-one or build standard previews? Perhaps you might want to rebuild them, or you need to rebuild them, because in a backup, in these backup files here, so show this backup file. This backup file here, it does not make a backup of your previews. Why? Because you can regenerate your previews from the original files. So it doesn't need to create a backup of those previews or smart previews. So how do you regenerate your smart preview? Sorry, your previews one-to-one or standard previews? Because as I showed you just now, I go catalog settings, previews, we can discard our one-to-one previews after a week because they take up quite a bit of storage. Okay. So how do we regenerate them? Well, that's quite simple. We go select all in this case, go to library, come down to preview. We can build standard previews, we can build one-to-one previews, or we can discard one-to-one and discard standard previews. So we can manually rebuild these. So if I go build one-to-one previews, just wait a few seconds, the bar, and there we go, 16 of them done. Okay, so you can, if you haven't got a lot of storage and you want a quicker workflow, generate them on import, one-to-one previews, and then a day or a week after you've done that import, Lightroom Classic will automatically discard them. But when you want to go back to, oh, I want to edit these images again, for this collection here, 6 images, I can go library, preview, build smart previews, and it will build those smart previews again. And then a week later, they will be discarded because it goes off to the image and rebuilds them. And what's it used for? It's used for a quick rendering of your images as you scroll through them. And if there's a little delay, that's internet connection. These are coming up live immediately. Okay. So standard previews, one-to-one previews. Has anybody got any questions about that before I go on to smart previews? Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a real powerful, generating those one-to-one and putting a 7 days, for example, if you've not got a lot of storage space where your catalog is saved or work from, it's a real quick way of importing 100 images, viewing them quite quickly, and then coming back to them a week or so later or whatever, and rebuilding that one-to-one, speeding up your workflow, but not clogging up your storage. Really, really powerful. The next preview, well, the third preview, is smart previews. Smart previews, I believe, was originally designed for laptop users with a big external hard drive. I feel best practice is keeping all your images on one external drive. Why do I believe that? Is it's simple to remove that drive. Let's say something happens at home, disaster, fire, flood, something like that. We can replace our passport, we can replace our credit card, we can replace, but our memories, our photographs, we can't replace. So you've got to run out of the house. You can just pull out one drive and you've got the whole of your life in memories in one place. You don't have to worry about the computer. You can replace that. And in your backup policy, you've got a backup of your catalog. You might even put that on your image drive. So I always suggest you have one drive, back it up online or to another drive, and your image is on there. Now, if you're running a laptop or you move your computer from home to office, let's say you've got an iMac or something like that, or a Mac Mini, which is the little boxes, and there's little PCs, little tiny boxes that you just plug into a monitor and you can take them with you. But you don't take your drive with you. So what happens is Classic is using a preview to show the image. But you haven't got the drive nor the original image with you. Adobe's thought of that. So what have they done? They have created a product called Smart Preview. There we go. So this is a preview I'm looking at. If I disconnect my drive, I won't get this high-res image. Okay, pinch up, in focus image, because it's not looking at the image. I can't edit it. If I go D for develop, in the develop module, I'm looking at the actual file. I'm not looking at a preview. Okay, and I'm working on a file. Okay, so it puts data into the catalog, overlays it to the raw file itself. Now, if I haven't got this raw file, I can't edit it. So real life scenario, I've got a laptop, I take it, I'm on the train. I haven't got my direct attached storage or my Netgear 14 Western Digital 14 terabyte drive with me. So I can't edit the image. So what we do is we create what they call a smart preview. And if you have a look under the histogram, it says original file plus smart preview. Now, what's a smart preview? A smart preview is an additional file that you can generate as and when you wish. So let's go previews, general, and here they are. They're all in this file here next to your catalog. Okay. And it's 164 gigabytes. Sorry, megabytes is this file. Each image is a roughly 2 megabytes. It's the size of a 10 by 8 print. What it allows you to do is if you haven't got your image drive with you, you can still edit it on the smart preview. And it's a high quality, small raw file, if it's a raw file itself. So you can edit on the go. Now, you don't have to have all those. It's the same principle. You go library, previews, build smart previews, and it will generate the smart preview for you. So you can unplug your drive, take your laptop with you. And that's what a smart preview is. There's one other time that it uses a smart preview is when you sync a collection to the cloud. What Lightroom is actually doing is it creates a smart preview, sends it to the cloud to your iPad, iPhone, Android phone, Android tablet, whatever. And that is the file that you're working on, a smart preview. And when you sync it all back together, the edits, the culling, whatever you've done on your mobile device comes back to Classic. So you've worked away from Classic using a smart preview. And when you connect back to Classic, it updates it all with the work that you've done. And that's a smart preview. You can print from a smart preview. So if you were on a laptop away from your main drive or your image drive, or you were on an iPad or a smartphone, you can print up to a 10 by 8 print at 300 dots per inch from this smart preview. So it's a mini raw file, for argument's sake, that you can edit, you can work on away from Classic and print and so on, and email and share it and put it in an album and share that album, or you can send it as an email, so you can export it and send it as an email up to the pixel size of the smart preview. So that's the difference. Standard previews, one-to-one previews, smart previews. Standard previews is what you see on the screen. One-to-one is the high-res size of the raw file. Very quick in your workflow. So if you're doing loop view, which is the whole image, and you've got a filter bar on, so let's say unflagged images, and you flag the image, it will disappear quickly. The next image will come up, and it's virtually instantaneous. So that's standard and smart, one-to-one previews. And then you have smart previews, which go to the cloud, or it allows you to work with Classic away from a direct attached storage or network attached storage device. And that's your 3 types of previews. Anyone, any questions about that? No?
No. So what are they in Lightroom then?
Lightroom, the preview is in the header of the file. So
Right.
you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Okay.
So, right.
Hi, Mark.
Smart views, when it's offline and you want to do print and all that, you get it all ready. So then it will work when it goes back online.
So when you want to print, it'll only print approximately a 10 by 8 print, okay, from a smart preview. And it allows you, so with your iMac, if you took your iMac somewhere but didn't take the drive with you, you could still print and edit on your iMac, okay, because it creates this mini, it's about a 2 megabyte, depending on the image, it's about a 2 megabyte raw file, which is your smart preview. And it puts that next to your catalog. So that's what you're working on. You're seeing your smart preview, putting edits in the catalog, and then when you attached the storage device back again, it then marries everything up. So it all back to normal. So you don't have to take your main drive with you. Yeah. But you can print, you can email up to the limitations of the size of the smart preview. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. You can even, there's a tick box in the preferences. You can use your smart preview as your develop preview when you're attached to your device. So your hard drive. So I've got a 96 terabyte direct attached storage drive, and I could, if I wanted to, use the smart preview for my editing. I don't. That would be a faster workflow, by the way. I don't, because sometimes I want to zoom into the image. When I'm in the develop module, I'm zooming into a 50 megabyte file. If I edit a smart preview, I'm only looking at a 2000 pixel wide image. So I will get a pixelated image when I view in. So there is limitations. Okay. But as a general global setting, doing masks, looking at 100% or 50% of the image, that's perfectly fine. Working with an iPad or any form of tablet or any form of phone, perfectly fine. But if you've got a big 5K monitor and you work on your smart previews, they will become slightly pixelated. But the benefit would be it's working faster for you. The downside is it'll be a pixelated image, and you can just untick that. And your preferences, you can untick edit smart previews. If you untick it, it'll edit or reference back to, that's what it does, Classic, reference back to the original file or the smart preview. That's what you're telling it to do. Smart preview, it's not as high quality because it's only about 2,800 pixels across or 2,084 pixels across, where the original file is 45 million pixels or whatever it is, 24 million pixels. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions?
Mark?
Yes.
Hi. When you say, when you connect back to the hard drive, after you've done your smart preview edit, come back to the house to maybe print or look at it again, you said it all marries up back together.
Correct.
Are you saying that your edit that you made will alter the original raw and merge?
Okay, so Classic and Lightroom are non-destructive. So when you edit, what you're actually doing is you're putting instructions in the catalog in Classic. Okay, so in art terms, you've got a piece of art and you've got a piece of tracing paper over the top, and you're doing your adjustments, you're sketching on the tracing paper. And this is why it's non-destructive. And that's the line in the catalog. So you're making the highlights brighter and so on. And every time it adds information to that line in the catalog. And that's what you're seeing in the edit version. Okay, in your develop module. So whether you look at the original file or the smart preview is your choice of how you work. So if you haven't got the drive with you, but you've got the smart preview, the piece of tracing paper, the line in the catalog, is sitting on top of the smart preview. Okay. Now, when you connect it all back up again, so you plug your drive back in again, Classic will say, no longer use the Smart Preview, use the original file. So those instructions, those adjustments that are in the catalog will now reference back to the original file underneath it, and then presents to you on the screen the edited image. You only get the final image when you export it from Classic and create, for example, a JPEG. And what that does is it takes all the ingredients from the IPTC data, your edit data, and how you want to export it. So size, for example, color space, renaming, all those settings, and it creates a new file. And that's when it all gets sandwiched back together and gives you that finished edited document or file. Does that help you?
Yeah, that's a really good explanation. Makes sense. Yeah, wow, that's pretty clever.
It is, but you have to make some choices in how you want to do things. And my learning style is about telling you about what the tools do, not telling you what to do. Is, oh, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, and allow you to work out your outcome. I want to get, oh, well, I don't know what computer you got. I don't know what you photograph. I don't know. So telling you what the tools are and how we can use them, and then allow you to summarize that and say, I've got a laptop. I go and do this. I leave my hard drive at home quite a lot. Then I need to create smart previews, and I can edit them away from home or my workstation. Or it could be you're in the garden. Now, a lot of times when I import, I will sync a collection, put all those images that I'm importing, sync them to a collection into the cloud. And I will take my iPad with me into the garden with my glass bottle of wine, sit in the garden on a summer's afternoon, and I'll sit there with my iPad and my pencil, and I will color and I'll do some editing and so on, and it will sync back to Classic for me. That's how I do my workflow. Okay. And that's using a smart preview in the cloud, because I've told Classic on import to import these images, put them in a collection, which creates a smart preview, sends it to the cloud, and now I'm sitting on a nice Sunday afternoon with a bottle of wine and the barbecue's going, and I'm editing a few images. So this is where I believe biased, but I'll tell you I'm biased. Lightroom Classic and the Lightroom ecosystem, and Photoshop today has come out on the iPhone. That's Photoshop on the iPhone. It's been out on the tablet and on the web browser for a little while. So if you've got an iPhone, you can have Photoshop on there. So you can link Lightroom to Photoshop and do heavy lifting or manipulation on your phone from today. I believe it's the most complete ecosystem that allows you to do lots of other things. So you can go to On1, you can go to Topaz, you can go to Nixsoft, you can go to LR Timelapse, you can go to Photomatics, and come back to Lightroom. Lightroom will do that. Most other platforms won't allow you to leave them. They want to keep them to themselves. But Lightroom Classic, the center of a wheel, will allow you to go out and come back, go out and come back, go out. How you want to do your photography and edit and manage your images. The price is £10 a month, whatever it is, for doing that service, where the others may be cheaper, may be dearer. So there we go. Anyone, any more questions? No? Okay, so that's previews. There's no Lightroom at all next week. It's academic recess for me. In my academic recess, I normally go and continue some of my primary research. So I'm off to Scotland for 10 days from tomorrow. So it's back on the 10th and the 13th, I think. 10th Lightroom Community. We're starting the book module for 4 weeks. And on Wednesday, so that's 2 weeks today, I'm going to give you some handy tips for keywording. Okay.
Right, so hopefully you get no suntan in Scotland.
Oh, well, it might be snowburn rather than sunburn.
Okay.
So I go to the rural parts of Scotland to get away from technology and what I see, how it makes me feel, emotions, and so on. So psychogeography, affect theory, and punctum and studium, and so on, etc. And so I'm off for 10 days as a part of my PhD primary research. Last chance. Any questions about that? Everyone, did I explain that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
See you in a couple of weeks. Take care. All the
Bye-bye.
best. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Happy photography.